What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here. So obviously this is a very different setup. It's the best I could work with the current situation that I have. I'm visiting family out of town, so I'm doing my best, and this is what we've got for the next few weeks. But to talk about the game, it's actually the day after the final game of the season, because didn't have time to do the review yesterday. And looking back at it, it's a win, which is good. Not a great performance, but I think the big thing is that throughout most of this season, we've had performances like this one against Bournemouth. And we've had our issues with trying to get over the line, creating some chances, not finishing them, kind of letting Bournemouth grow into the game and take control of it throughout. And we typically don't win those matches. So the fact that we did, I think, is a step in the right direction. It was not a great performance. It was not a great showing from us, but I think it was a good game to show that we can get the job done even when we're not fully at it. There are some players that either they're already on the beach, or maybe it's just long season, they're tired, they're just whatever. Some of them played on Wednesday, so maybe they're still feeling it. But yeah, it was definitely not as good of a performance as we've seen over the past weeks before. Also, I think whoever started that petition to get Anthony Taylor off of Chelsea games, I think we need to bring that back, because it was a good idea. And yeah, he also made it to where this game could have been a lot more comfortable for us. And he just decided, you know what? It's okay if Semenyo basically cleans out Sterling's back leg from behind. It's okay if the defender comes in and steps on Gallagher's foot. It's fine if they do that in the box. We're not going to look at it. We're not going to check it again. No penalty. Move on. The only really good decision he made throughout the whole match was calling the one dive. I don't remember who it was now. It's like Kirix or something like. I don't remember how to pronounce the guy's name, but that was about the only good decision he made. The rest of it was pretty poor. And again, a lot of the really poor decisions ended up going against us because for whatever reason, it seems like Anthony Taylor just hates us. So, but looking at the lineup and the subs that came out from Pochettino, I mean, all of it was pretty straightforward. He kept mostly the same lineup that we saw from the previous weeks, minus Mudryk. Sterling comes in for him, but not too surprising. We did see Gusto come in midweek, but I think that was mainly just to give Silva a chance to rest. I was really hoping that we would see maybe Gusto, Silva, Chalobah, Cucurella, but he decided to stick with that same sort of formation that he's been using, and it once again sort of changed into a back three, and Cucurella slides inside, and it worked fine for the match yesterday. I think the only game where that's not really been effective was the Forest match, and that was because they look so. I think teams that tend to sit back and look to counter, I think we struggle in those matches anyway. So definitely whenever we keep a lot of possession and Cucurella is now having to be on the ball a lot and he's not just being there as the defensive block with Caicedo, I think that's typically going to be where this formation, probably won't be the same thing next season, but at least for now, what we've seen this season, I think that's when it didn't work. It didn't work whenever it was him and Caicedo and they had to be on the ball. But Bournemouth, they were kind of all over us. They were not just sitting back and letting us come onto them and then countering on us. We didn't have really as much possession as we probably should have, because Bournemouth were really pressing us high, and it kind of felt like they were almost the lack of ambition, the lack of any real, I guess, a top half finish could have been on the cards for them, but for the most part, it's not like they really had much to play for. So I think that almost let them be a little bit more free and a little bit more confident, and not as much pressure on them to succeed. So it really felt like they just sort of said, you know what, let's just go at them. Let's just press them high, press them hard, go at them real quick whenever we've got possession. And so because of that, it was not really a game for we're going to keep moving the ball around slowly in the back, because every time we tried to do that, we were under pressure and we either gave it away or we just had to kick it long. So yeah, their formation and their tactics, I really think, made it difficult for us because we did not feel like we were really moving it that quickly. And again, I don't know how much of that was just players being tired and how much of it was players' minds not fully being there. But moving on to individuals, Petrovic obviously didn't have a whole lot to do. honestly, Bournemouth's finishing is really what cost them the most in that match, because they probably should have at least tied us, if not beaten us, because of how many chances they had that were pretty clear cut. But for the most part, I mean, any save that Petrovic made, they were basically right at him. He didn't really have to move himself a whole lot, and then the goal was, I mean, not really much he can do. It was poor defending on the back post. So yeah, I think, and also deflection too. So it's really hard to judge him on that. But I'll do a full wrap up and review of the season whenever I get back to my house. But I still think we need a better keeper, because I just still don't think he's the answer, for trying to challenge and to get into the Champions League and possibly challenging for the title in the next couple of years. We need somebody better than him. On the right side, Chalobah, once again, I don't think he's a right fullback. And even whenever he slides inside, the problem is that you need a wing over there who's going to slide back and help out and be almost a wing back. Whenever the way that Pochettino has the team set up, we need our wings to step back and help out defensively. And unfortunately, Matty Wake is on that side, and sometimes he'll get back, but it's really only whenever it's convenient for him. So there are too many times whenever the ball go out wide on their left side, and Chalobah, he's not thinking as a fullback, so he's not out there and ready to close him down. He lets him get way too far inside before he's finally there to put in a challenge. And at that point, they have too much time and space to react and create something from that. So unfortunately, it's partially the formation, but also partially Chalobah not being a right back. It both sort of works against that defense on that side. Silva in the middle, obviously sad to see him go. Very emotional scenes there at the end to see his final words and see everybody's reaction to him leaving. But pretty solid performance from him for the final day. Did his job effectively and basically did what he's done for the last 4 years, which is be comfortable in defense. Badiashile did what he did for most of this season. Honestly, it's funny because I look at him and I think he has shown some quality in certain games. He's had moments where he's not been that bad. But the problem is majority of his games this season, I've noticed him, and not in a good way. And I think even when he's been okay, even when he's not been bad, I've not really noticed him in those games. And that can be an improvement. We've seen that from players in the past. I think Jorginho is a great example where if I didn't notice him, that meant he was doing his job effectively. He was keeping the ball moving, keeping possession for us well. When I noticed him, that's when he was making big mistakes. Badiashile, though, I think I would compare it to Caicedo. Caicedo, for the first half of the season, his best games were, I didn't notice him. I didn't see him out there. But we've seen over the past few weeks, when he's on, when he's good, you notice him. You see the effect he's having on the team. You see those challenges, the tackles. I think the same thing's got to be said for defenders. If you are not being noticed at all, that means either you're not really helping out or you're just kind of back there doing the bare minimum. And I think that's kind of been Badiashile's problem. I think he's been doing a lot of the bare minimum, but whenever he's asked to do a little bit more, that's when he struggles. So in the games, whenever he's only had to do the bare minimum, like the West Ham match or the Everton match, he's not really been involved very much. And now I'm wondering if he was involved in the West Ham match. I don't think he was. But anyways, that's going back too far. But I just watched him yesterday and really did show. They put him under a lot of pressure when he was on the ball, and he couldn't deal with it. Whenever they're flying forward, he's having to deal with tracking runners. There are people coming in from behind. He's not aware of them. There's just too much of that. There's too much of he's not a defender that is going to be effective. He's not a defender that's going to clean it up back there for us. We need somebody better than him. And granted, I think Chalobah's better. Fofana, if he's fit for next season, maybe he'll be better. I do think Disasi is slightly better, but he's still also got some mistakes in his game. But I do think, first of all, you need to replace Silva. You need to replace that experienced defender in the back that is comfortable and confident and knows what he's doing. Because Badiashile, I thought, could be that. For the first season, we saw him whenever, I think he came in when Tuchel was in charge. he did seem like he might have that to his game. Like he did seem very calm and composed on the ball, but now this season showed he doesn't have that. He's too young, too naive, too slow to react, and it cost us several times this season. Cucurella, obviously, he did the same thing he's been doing recently, which is a lot of energy, a lot of running around, and not really a whole lot outside of that. Today or yesterday was one of his better performances, I think, but I think it's another one of those performances where if the players that he's going up against, if the players he's challenging are a little bit smarter and a little bit quicker to react, I think he gets turned way too easily. And we can't have that. It's fine to have players that are all gung-ho and energetic and running at players, but if you're a defender, you can't just be running into every challenge and hoping you get the ball. Most of the time you're going to get turned because players are smart enough to know when to do that. So, yeah, I think he's another player that I wouldn't mind if we let go, because as much as I appreciate, his work ethic and how hard he gives it for the team, I think we just need better, more quality options, which hopefully, Chilwell can stay fit, but we do need somebody behind Chilwell because I don't think Colwill is going to be a left back. In the midfield, Caicedo, obviously great goal. It was honestly shocking when he hits it and it's going in. I'm thinking, oh wow, who hit? And then seeing it's Caicedo just blew my mind. But I mean, it's a perfect way to cap off this end of the season for him. He has been very solid, and I think he's well worth that goal. That's not part of his game. His main thing has just been being effective defensively and being the buffer in front of the defense. But I mean, he has been not anywhere near Conte or Makaleli levels, but he's been solid, and he has definitely stepped up from where we saw him earlier this season. I would say, he's nowhere near the 100 million price tag. I would give him probably 50 mil by this point, though. As much as he has improved, I think he's worth that now. And I did not expect that to happen. I really thought he was just going to be a flop that we were going to never see the best out of. And he was always going to be a problem player that was going to play because we paid too much money for him to not play. So I'm glad to have been proven wrong there. And I hope next season, with Enzo coming back, it kind of feels like that partnership didn't quite work out. So I'm hoping, whether it's Pochettino or, if the board is actually stupid enough to get rid of him, whoever comes in, they've got to find a way to make that pairing work, whether it's sliding Enzo further up the field and maybe dropping Gallagher back, assuming, we hold on to him, or just, I don't know, change of formation that makes that work better. Because we do need Enzo's distribution in the midfield, but I mean, we've seen how good Caicedo can be at winning the ball back in there if he's utilized properly. Gallagher, another typical good performance from him, just hard work, not great quality in the final third, but he wins the ball back. He puts a lot of pressure on, so great to see from him. And again, I'll talk a little bit more about this when I get to kind of my review for the season and looking ahead to next season, but he's a player we need to keep hold of. If not for the work ethic and the quality he has on the pitch, definitely for the passion, and I think just that having that Chelsea connection in these players, because we don't have a whole lot of that. So moving up into the front four, first of all, Madueke on the right side. Again, another similar performance to the past few where he's just been very selfish. And it's really funny because it does feel like he has that one good game, and suddenly, I mean, obviously I'm not in his mind, so I don't know if this is how he's thinking, but it looks like he just gets it in his head that I'm the best player in the world. Nobody can touch me, because he had a great match against, I think it was Tottenham. And then since then, the West Ham match, actually even in the West Ham match, he had a pretty decent match. He has scored and then he assisted later on when he could have been selfish. So two good matches, I'm pretty sure, back to back. And then from there, it's just been all about him. Taking on players too long, holding on to the ball too long, trying to do too much with it. It's ridiculous. And I'm at a point where I know everybody keeps raving, saying he's going to be a great player. He's got a lot of skill, blah, 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 blah. I'm sorry. He needs to play for a mid-table side. He needs to go be like a Grealish for Villa or a Zaha for Palace. He needs to go be one of those players. Barkley for Luton. Just go tear it up for a smaller club, because we need players who are in it for the team who are going to be playing with the team and knocking it around, not trying to dribble everybody on the pitch. So yeah, I'm kind of sick of watching him because it's been throughout the entire season. And even when he has those games where he looks phenomenal and it looks like he's going to be good, it's followed up by 4 or 5 games where I'm just sick of seeing it. Palmer, it feels like he's also trying to do a bit too much with it right now. I almost kind of feel like his is more so because he's hit a little bit of a rut recently. His finishing has not been great. I think you look at the Tottenham match, you look at the West Ham match, he came back and he looked okay. I think he got a goal against West Ham, but I don't know if he scored against Tottenham. I don't remember now. But he's not been in great goal scoring form ever since the Everton match. And so it almost feels like he's trying to force it a bit too much. And that's not something he did earlier on the season. The best part about him was he was calm, composed, and he did a good job of let me not rush this. Let me not blast this. Let me take my time, place it. But he's not doing that right now. So unfortunately, he's not been at his best. He's definitely looking not the same player that we've had for most of the season. Obviously still got himself an assist, but that was more so because of Sterling's great running. But for most of the match, I felt like he was off. I even had a joke in my head about what happened. Was there some body snatching going on? Is that what's going on here? Because it didn't really look like Palmer, at least the one we've seen. Sterling, though, and like I said, he's come back almost looking like he has a point to prove. Outside of just getting the goals, he's looked a lot more effective. He's looked a lot more energetic than we saw for most of this season, I think. He looks solid, and is something where earlier on, if you had asked, I would have said, do not keep him. We need to sell. He's done. He's not that same player that we saw at City. But he's shown a bit of that over these last few weeks. So I think, if anything, maybe he's raised his price tag a bit. I wouldn't mind, though, if we gave him another chance next season just to see, maybe whether it's Poch, whether it's he's finally got the mentality that he wants to try to work and win his place here. Whatever the case, it does look like we're starting to see the best of Sterling right now, at least in a Chelsea jersey. Obviously, we've seen better at City, but I do like what I've seen from him recently, and I hope that can continue. As far as Jackson, I mean, it's another one where he's worked hard, he's looked dangerous, but he's not finished. And unfortunately, again, he's a striker, so it's hard to say. I personally, I like that type of striker that's going to work hard and put himself in good positions, but I understand that if he's not scoring, that's part of the problem. You need a striker that's going to score. And granted, he does have, I think it's like 15 goals in the season in the league, so it's not saying that he's not scored at all, but he's not scoring in the games where we need him to. He's not getting those clutch goals that most strikers will get you. So unfortunately, I feel like he's got to step that part of his game up a bit, and if not, then we might need to get another one. And as far as the subs that came on, I mean, most of them were pretty straightforward. Gusto comes on for Mediaweke, which provides that more wing-back type of player on that side, which I thought was fine. And then Nkunku went in for Sterling, which I like getting to see more of Nkunku. And again, I'm hoping he stays fit because he looked good again. He looked solid. He wasn't great. He wasn't phenomenal, but he looked solid. And he's working hard. He's looking more dangerous as well. So I think if we can keep it fit next season, I think we'll be pretty good. But Gusto, I thought he did fine. Still not phenomenal. Still not that same form that we saw midway through the season before he got injured. But yeah, he looks good. And I think he's definitely going to be a good asset next season, I guess, since we don't know what's going to go on with James. Obviously, we're missing him for the first set of games next season because of the red card. And honestly, I don't know if James is the same player that he was before. Everybody was raving about he's the best right back and all of this stuff, but I mean, I don't know. From what we've seen from him even before the injury, he's not on that same level that we saw whenever he was fighting Azpilicueta for that position. So it kind of feels like maybe he's dropped off a bit. Maybe his desire has dropped off a bit. Whatever the case, he's just not the same, unfortunately. So Gusto is a good one to have because he's effective and he's only 21. So still got plenty of room to grow. And honestly, I could see him being pretty solid going forward. So I had to look it up because I couldn't remember when the next sub happened. It turns out that actually Ugochukwu also came in with Gusto and Nkuku, which totally forgot about that. But yeah, he came on. Caicedo was feeling something, so came on to basically be that center defensive mid. And okay. He was one, he had a pretty solid debut. I think it was actually against Bournemouth earlier this season. But since then, he didn't really look that good. He was very weak and slow and felt like too easy to beat in the midfield. So it was disappointing for me because I felt like he could be a good option to kind of push Caicedo to work himself harder. And then he just fell off a cliff after that first match. And then he got injured. So, of course, now we don't even see him. So, I don't know. He's one that we'll need to see a bit more of. He's still young, so plenty of room to grow. But for what we saw yesterday, it was okay. It wasn't anything special. It wasn't terrible. So, at least there's that. But he definitely needs to grow a bit more if he wants to get himself into that first team. Because, Caicedo in the form he's in, you've got Gallagher, who's really strong. Fernandez, I think, is a good option. And then if Lavia comes back sometime soon, he's going to have a lot of work to do to try to get himself into that midfield. And then Caicedo was the last one to come on. And he's one, I don't even know why we brought him back, if I'm being honest. I guess maybe we just needed the numbers, and he was a decent option to throw in there. But I don't know. I'm watching him thinking, why did we bring him back from loan? Why not just let him see out the charge for the title and the championship with Leicester, and then maybe then bring him back and see what he can do. But yeah, I don't know. Watching him, I just don't see much from him, if I'm being honest. I don't see what he brings to the pitch that we should be excited about. So with all that being said, though, I mean, it was a not a great win, but a good win. And it's one that I think shows the progress that we've made. Because again, I think earlier this season, we would not have won that match. We gave away that goal right after the second one. We were not playing well. We were very slow and boring in possession for a lot of it. And I feel like Bournemouth would have found a way to break through. And some of it could be that their finishing was not great, to be fair. But I still feel like we defended pretty well. We still created our own chances going forward. I don't think we just bowed out of that game. And I've seen us do that earlier this season. So it was better, still not great, but it's a step in the right direction. And it's a win that we had to grind out that typically we were not doing this season. So I think it's good for Pochettino. It shows, again, that there's signs of life there that I don't think we saw for a majority of this season. I think that's why, I'm okay with him staying. And I'm now at a point where if Bowley and the board and whoever do decide to get rid of him, they're idiots. Because they're the ones that caused a lot of this mess anyway. And, Pochettino, yeah, he wasn't doing well with it to start, but he's actually found a way to be successful with this mess that you gave him now. And he managed to get us into Europe at least. Now, whether it's going to be Europa League or Conference League, we don't know yet. I would assume Europa League, but I also assumed Man U was going to get crushed by Arsenal, and they still only lost 1-0. So who knows? It's a weird game. Things could change. But yeah, I think getting us into Europe is a big accomplishment, considering where we were and how bad we were doing throughout most of the season. So I think you have to give him a chance now and get better players in, listen to him, actually get players he wants in there, and try to see, can he actually build off of this season? Can he build off this good into the season and next season maybe take us closer to our goal, challenging for a title? With that being said, that's all for me. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on this final game and on the season as a whole? Again, I'll probably do a video whenever I get back home, actually analyzing this season a little bit more in depth and giving my thoughts looking ahead to next season too. But please let me know in the comments. Also, leave a like and subscribe. Looking forward to next season. Hopefully, I'll have more positive reviews to do, not so many negative and rage-inducing ones, but we'll see. But anyways, with all that being said, I hope you guys have a great day, and I will talk to you all later. Peace out.